Yo, what's happening, everyone? Welcome into the second ever episode of Rivals Down South here on Stadium. I am one of your hosts, T-Bob Hebert, local radio man, two-time Scout Team Player of the Week in the '07 National Championship LSU Tiger team, joined as always by former Alabama great, three-time Natty champ in his own right, XFL all-time passing leader, and now Cincinnati Bengal, A.J. McCarron. A.J., hey, congrats on the big dub last night. Houday indeed, avoiding the dreaded 0-3 hole. How is the process of trying to launch a new college football show while also launching into yet another NFL team going?
Yeah, it's well, as you know, T-Bob, it's a work in progress. For sure. But hey, when you have a host like you, and by the way, we got to get your introduction. Like, I love how you downplay yourself the whole time, but I mean, national champion, like you started a ton of games there. Like,
yeah,
let's update that bio a little bit.
I will look, it's one of those jokes that maybe plays like 2 to 3 days, right? Like you definitely can't do it every day, but I'm going to squeeze a little juice out of that stone yet here early on. Yeah, I mean, look, not to brag, I made it to the final cuts on an NFL team. Okay. So, I mean, I made it to the last day. I didn't make it 8-9 years wherever you're at now, but yeah. Okay, look, so we got a ton to get to today. Matt Goldman says Ohio State or LSU wide receiver. He said that on the Watch Stadium YouTube channel, youtube.com/Watch Stadium. You want to come hang out with us every single day. We will get to all your questions. In fact, we got LSU in the rundown. A lot of good receivers. It looks like they got more great ones this season between Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. But I want to start with the Georgia Bulldogs here, AJ, as Georgia. Well, first off, I didn't realize this. This just came across a few minutes ago. I discovered this on Saturday with the win. Kirby Smart set a couple of interesting records, a couple of interesting SEC records. He has now coached at Georgia for 100 games. The win made him 85-15. Symbolically, he passed up Bear Bryant for best win percentage in the first 100 games, and he passed up Nick Saban for the most on-field wins during those first 100 games. Georgia right now is seeking to do something that not even Saban and Bama were able to do, win 3 national championships in a row. Never been done in the AP era, okay? It was like Minnesota in the 30s or something. That doesn't really count in my mind. Yeah. Y'all got very close during your time, right? You won in 2010, then it was 10-3, then it was back-to-back natties on your way out. When you think about fighting complacency, when you think about, okay, how do you, when the bar is being perfect, how do you maintain that over 3 years when there's constant new faces, constant turnover, new quarterbacks, new coaches? Like, what did Nick Saban, what did you learn in your time at Alabama? How do you avoid complacency and strive for that perfection?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Coach Saban used to preach was competing with yourself each and every day, right? Like not worrying about who you're playing, not worrying about the opponent, or trying to see the big picture in the end. If we do all this, we'll play in the national championship. It was really like buying into the process of each and every day, worrying about how you were going to get better each and every day. And then if you did all those things throughout the process, you were going to be in a situation at the end to win a national championship. And I mean, hell, we were still, my senior year, we're 1 second away, literally 1 second left on the clock when it was the kick six versus Auburn to play in a third national championship, because we would have played Missouri in the SEC championship and probably beat them bad like Auburn did, and then played Florida State in the national championship. So listen, Georgia has a chance to do something, like you said, that hasn't been done since the 30s. And Coach Smart, I mean, he has something special going on there.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about Smart, but I love what you just talked about with the kick six, because that highlights the margins, right? Like people, sometimes Georgia fans get upset with me because they think I'm being overly critical. And I'm saying, no, you're held to a higher bar. Like if you're trying to win 3 in a row, a flaw that wouldn't be that big of a deal for a team that's trying to go like 11-2 is massive, because that can be the difference. It could be 1 second. It could be an insane play that nobody ever expected. It ended up costing you everything that you ever worked for up to this moment. What about Kirby Smart? I mean, you were with him in Alabama. Every time he talks, I love what he has to say. Kind of with what you were just speaking on, to your point, this week he was talking about, look, on Saturday, yeah, we need to be better, but I love this team on Monday through Friday, right? I love how they approach the process. He studied with the New Zealand All Blacks over the offseason. How do you stay dominant where you're always best? They have a saying, better never rests. I love that, right? Because it's independent of how you perform. It's that, look, you can always get better. So you have to put in the work. Did you know when you, like, could you see the potential greatness of Kirby Smart when you were with him at Alabama?
Oh, 100%. Listen, Kirby's a brilliant mind when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. He was there all 5 years while I was at Alabama as the D coordinator. So, I mean, you could just see it, the work ethic that he had within himself, but also he learned from Coach Saban, and really taking Coach Saban's blueprint of, the whole fourth quarter program and really getting guys to buy in and being able to mold these young guys however you want them. I mean, you could just tell then at an early stage that, listen, this dude's going to be special when he gets his opportunity. Like you said, I mean, Coach Smart, the most wins in the first 100 games. I mean, the sky's the limit for him, and I'm definitely super proud of him for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of insane too. We always, if I've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants who came before. It's weird how being a part of Nick Saban's staff kind of rocket launches Smart into that seat almost earlier than Saban got there. And there's no NFL detour. So yeah, like the runway in front of Smart is massive. And he's going to try to add another natty this year. Georgia's going to Jordan-Hare this weekend. And admittedly, okay, so Matthew in the chat asks, what are the chances that, what's the percentage chance that Auburn beats Alabama this weekend? Look, I don't think Auburn wins this game, but we're trying to learn things about Georgia. This has been a salty Auburn defense at times. Jordan-Hare is a tough place to play. You have Carson Beck, who's never been the starter on a road in a major SEC environment. What do you think, AJ? What can you learn about Carson Beck in a game like this where, again, I don't think Georgia has any chance of losing, but we've never seen him in this situation before.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think Georgia, like you said, I don't think Georgia loses this game. I don't even think it's a close game with the struggles that Auburn's offense has right now. But, I mean, one thing you want to see out of Carson Beck is him taking care of the ball in a hostile environment, right? Like, you go into a hostile environment, especially playing at Auburn, crowd's going to be into it. It's already a rivalry game. Take care of the football, put your team in a situation and have a chance to win the game at the end. Worst case scenario, right? So as long as he takes care of the football and distributes to his playmakers, get it to guys like Brock Bowers, run the football like they do in ground and pound, and really set the tone up front, and then let that Georgia defense be special like they always are, and put, big time pressure on a struggling Auburn offense right now.
Well, and so that's where I wanted to go next, because that's why Auburn has no chance. The offense is completely anemic. I mean, all three quarterbacks play last week against A&M. That A&M defense, which is good and has a lot of talent, holds him to 56 yards through the air. Tennessee Aubie tweets into the show saying, Bo Nix has 4 touchdowns in the first half in Oregon, and Auburn can't even get the ball in the red zone once. Yes, the Bo Nix emergence continues to be this just insane tease, source of anger for Auburn fans. But is there anything that can be done this year with these quarterbacks in Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford, who has the most Premier League sounding name of any SEC player?
Listen, I don't think so. Like, I just think Auburn's offense right now, with the struggles they're having, listen, Peyton Thorne is struggling, turning the ball over. He's got 4 passing touchdowns with 3 interceptions. His last year at Michigan State. He was 19 touchdowns to 11 interceptions on the year.
Yeah.
So his touchdown to interception ratio is not great in the past 2 years that he's been playing ball, and it's always tough. In his defense, it's always tough to go to a new offense and be successful that first year. It's just the lingo, knowing exactly what the coach is going to call in certain situations when you've been with an OC for a couple years, and then really knowing where the reads are. And then, listen, Robbie Ashford had his chance last year with Finley there and him kind of role playing, coming, in and out. The kid just doesn't throw the ball well enough to be successful in the SEC. So I still think this Auburn's offense is set up for a lot of struggles here in the future.
Yeah, look, and you can trust AJ when it comes to what it takes to have success with a new offense, as he is currently cramming one into his brain as we speak in Cincinnati. Sidelines tweets into the show saying Auburn needs to find an SEC caliber quarterback. Anyone with gray matter between their ears cannot think it's okay. How did things get so bad? Well, I mean, look, I don't think how things got bad is too hard to break down. Brian Harsin was a disaster of a hire. I mean, look, he ran Bo Nix off. Like, there's an alternate reality, AJ, where maybe Hugh Freeze ends up at Auburn a couple years earlier and he has Bo Nix, and Auburn's rolling right now. Because I think that Hugh Freeze is a perfect fit for Auburn, just in terms of like feeling, personality.
Yep.
If you're looking for great quarterback play and offense, I know Hugh Freeze is going to be able to get you that. So Auburn fans, you got nothing. Like, there's not going to be anything that's going to make you pleased this year at that position. I feel very comfortable in saying, though, the future looks bright under Hugh Freeze.
No, 100%. I'd even go, another step to speak to Auburn fans. Listen, you had Gus Malzahn, who was a spread offense for years. He was there for a long time. So when you're in that spread style offense, and the run and shoot type deal, like, you're recruiting a style of player that fits that style of offense. All right, and then you bring in Brian Harsin, who is a more ground and pound pro style, is what his mindset was leaning towards. So now you're recruiting a whole nother different kind of player. And then you're back to a spread style with Hugh Freeze as the head coach. So you've also been recruiting different type of players year in and year out, and that can be tough.
Yeah, man. We'll see. Again, long term, I think you're going to be just fine, Auburn, and maybe you'll finally find a great quarterback again like you once had in Cam Newton even. Coming up next here on Rivals Down South, there is yet another star receiver emerging for the Bayou Bengals. We'll kind of debate if he's worth all that hype next here on Rivals. Yo, what's happening, y'all? Welcome back to Rivals Down South here on Stadium. So excited to be doing the show. Eddie PA, love the show. You got great taste, Eddie. Are the black shirts the new Rivals Down South team uniforms? No. This was a happy accident. AJ claims his is dark blue. I've always been, look, I'm a bigger guy, okay? Black t-shirts are slimming. I've also always been a big Trailer Park Boys fan, and everybody knows that nobody wears a sexy black t-shirt better than Julian. And so this is kind of my homage to him. Coming to the break, we tease a little wide receiver talk as right now, look, LSU's had a ton of great receivers lately, right? You got DJ Chark in the pros right now. Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry burst onto the scene years ago. The latest crop was Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase have been dominating for the last couple of years. And now you got two more. First, you got Malik Neighbors, who is currently second in the SEC in yards per game. He's first in touchdowns. You have Brian Thomas, who is fifth in yards per game, first in touchdowns. Jaden Daniels going off. And so there's a little debate emerging. Is LSU wide receiver you? Matt Goldman says I might put Ohio State there. All H-Town Sports says I might put USC or Oklahoma. AJ, if you had to choose one wide receiver you for college football right now, who would it be?
Listen, we talked about it during the break, but I think Alabama has to be in that choice as well. Listen, I mean, LSU, of course, has a ton of special players, and I got to witness one last night, first time in person watching Jamar Chase, and I mean, he's unbelievable how slippery he is and being able to get open and make guys miss tackles. But Alabama's still got to be in that conversation. I mean, Amari Cooper, Mechie, you got Judy, Calvin Ridley, Waddle. Like, I mean, Bama has a ton of guys in the league that are really good receivers as well.
Well, it's kind of wild too, because isn't that where a lot of the pain that Alabama's feeling is coming from this year? Is you went, and this is something that I've realized talking to other quarterbacks through the years, AJ, and you could probably give me some insight as well, is I'm guilty of thinking that the quarterback position can just lift everybody else up, right? If the guy's just making the right decisions, like if you can put the ball there, that, okay, it doesn't matter if the receivers are good or not, they're going to win. Maybe it's from watching too much Drew Brees, right? And so I never really give as much credence as I should to, like, no, if you have a dog out there, it helps you immensely. And so if I'm wondering, okay, why has Alabama felt more fallible the last couple of seasons compared to that recent run where they were unbeatable? It seems like it's the weapons, right? Like Alabama just
100%.
doesn't have the weapons right now that they did when they were killing it with Mac Jones and Tua and that crazy run of quarterbacks.
Yeah, 100%. You know, they're really missing that top guy. I think Burton that came over from Georgia was one that they were hoping, would be their top guy, and for whatever reason that hasn't worked out as well. But yeah, I mean, listen, as an offense, when you have especially one, you got to have at least one. But when you have one top receiver that can take away at least two defenders, and then when you do get one-on-one coverage with him, you can take that shot at any time because you know he's going to win. But especially when teams start playing you a bunch of zone and they're clouding to your best receiver, like it opens up everybody else. But you got to be able to have that one guy that can really get, the attention of the defense to help get other guys open.
Yeah, and so look, if we're talking like who's wide receiver you, I mean, I don't know, like LSU, they have a bunch of dogs, obviously, right? But it is a little more spread out over time. Alabama probably has the most in the NFL that are dominating right now. Ohio State, I think, is probably going to end up with the most first-round picks when it's all said and done, so it's kind of a wash. Matt Goldman does need a Big Ten versus SEC debate. If you're just talking quality of conference, not a wide receiver conversation, look, the Big Ten's struggling. Okay, Ohio State, Michigan are nice. Penn State's really nice. Otherwise, the Big Ten's kind of garbage this year. I mean, go look at Bill Connolly's S&P Plus analytics, right? They're actually, I think, ranked like fourth out of the 5 major Power 5 conferences. So even in a down year for the SEC, I still think top to bottom, it's stronger than the Big Ten is. And on the LSU receiver front, well, look, I don't care about, like, again, I don't think LSU's wide receiver you or anything. What I am amazed by is this LSU offense kind of quietly has morphed itself into the most dominant offense in the SEC. They're leading in points per game, they're leading in yards per game, and they're converting, AJ, 59% of their third downs right now. Have you looked at all into LSU Ole Miss this weekend and kind of how you see that one shaping up?
Yeah, listen, for me and trusting in LSU to win is what type of player is Jaden Daniels going to be that week, right? Like the first half of the Florida State game, I mean, LSU was playing well, and then the second half, like he looked like a totally different player. So, and then the past 2 weeks, against Grambling, they struggled a little bit on offense, and then they come out this past week against Arkansas and light it up. So it's what type of player is he going to be? Is he going to make good decisions? Is he going to take care of the football? And I think that's the key to LSU's success.
Speaking of quarterbacks, is there a controversy brewing in College Station? We'll discuss it next when Rivals Down South returns. Welcome back to Rivals Down South here on Stadium, youtube.com/watch stadium, where you can always get involved in the chat. We're talking A&M as last weekend they're playing Auburn. A defensive battle at first. Connor Wigman can't get anything going. He leaves the game with an ankle sprain. He's now day-to-day, but in steps Max Johnson, a cat who started at LSU as a true freshman, had some success through 2 years, was 8-6 as a starter. Probably has the best stats for a backup I've ever seen in the SEC with a 36-7 touchdown to pick ratio when he entered the game on Saturday. And when he entered, everything changed for the Aggies. They're immediately marching down the field. He even threw a touchdown, AJ, to his little brother, which means somewhere you had Super Bowl winning quarterback Brad Johnson in the stands watching his older son throw to his, just an all-time memory. What do you think, man? Wigman and Johnson, do you think there's some controversy there?
Well, 100%, because I mean, A&M's offense was struggling, and with Wigman going out and Max coming in, even though Max didn't play well last year, and he had those struggles first year in Jimbo's system. I mean, he's shown he can play well when he played at LSU. So, I mean, even though they didn't win a ton, he played well, took care of the football. So, if he can do that for A&M, I mean, it definitely changes their offense a ton and helps their team be that much more successful throughout the year.
Yeah, I agree, right? And Petrino's kind of changed this, right? Did Max look bad because everybody looked bad with Jimbo last year? The offensive line was bad. Like, there's a lot of elements to think that maybe Max under Petrino can start to shine a little more. I know this. They're gonna go to Fayetteville on Saturday, and that's an Arkansas defense that has looked pretty porous at times. So if you're Max, AJ, like if you get the start, you gotta take advantage.
Yeah, you got to. You got to have those big shot plays that they had this past week, and take care of the football and give your team a chance to win at the end. And they should come out successful playing in Arkansas.
Hey, look, a huge thank you to everyone who joined us on Rivals Down South today. Everyone hanging out in the YouTube chat. Cannot wait to do this with y'all every single day. AJ, a massive thank you to you, as obviously you're joining the Bengals right now and still joining us. And we'll see you tomorrow on a brand new episode of Rivals Down South.